Drake Maye is a gunslinger, okay? It's what made him great in college. It's what made him the number 3 pick in the draft. And it's what made him so endearing to Patriots fans, desperate for some hope for the future when he debuted last year. It's also why some people still aren't sold on him being the franchise savior that we all want him to be. His brutal fumble against the Commanders in an otherwise perfect Week 1 preseason win for the Pats showed these still glaring issues for a quarterback we've been hyping up for 10 months now since he made his debut. It showed once again that he's pretty rough around the edges. There's still some kinks to work out here. And his new coach, no-nonsense Mike Vrabel, had a blunt response to how he felt about that particular play.
And Roach in the back.
Mike, just thought on Drake's performance, and I'm sure the turnover probably annoyed you with what he did.
Are you asking and answering a
just
question
your
at the
thoughts.
same time? Is that what you're doing?
I got you. Your thoughts.
I would say you about summed it up. That's a bad decision, and I think we're going to need better from him, and I think he knows that, and that's obvious. So, wasn't there, and we just have to be able to find a way to get rid of the football or take a sack and punt and play defense.
Mike Vrabel did not want to answer that question. He wanted to go full Belichick right there, did he not? I think you about summed it up. 3 seconds of awkward silence. And then he goes and teaches Bill Belichick a lesson that you can actually treat these people like a human being. You can actually answer the question, even though it was very poorly constructed by Dan Roach. But I think about this relationship between Vrabel and Drake Maye, and it's something that really interests me. There are a few old school coaches in this league that are still kicking around that want to win games on defense and running the ball and a little bit of spectacularness from their quarterback. Mike Vrabel is one of those coaches. And you could be successful with that to a certain point, which I'll get to later on in this rant. But I wonder if this is the symbiotic marriage that Mike Vrabel was looking for with Drake Maye. Because the more I look into it, the more I'm convinced that if Mike Vrabel was actually hired by the Patriots when he was supposed to be in January of 2023, instead of trying this awful Gerard Mayo experiment, I guess. If Mike Vrabel was the Patriots coach in 2023 when he should have been, in January 24, that's it, right? 2024 is the year we're coming off of. If Mike Vrabel was the Patriots coach in 2024 and was going into that draft with the number 3 overall pick, I don't know that he would have picked Drake Maye. I really don't. If he had his pick of quarterbacks in that same draft class, so no Caleb Williams, no Jaden Daniels, the same situation the Patriots were in, I don't think he picks Drake Maye. I think he'd be much more likely to trade back and pick Bo Nix. Kind of guy who gets the car in the garage, who takes care of the football, is an accurate passer, is not going to raise your ceiling all that much, but is going to raise your floor quite a bit. Because let's look at it. Let's look at Mike Vrabel's successful tenure as an NFL head coach with the Tennessee Titans. Okay? He had Ryan Tannehill when he took that team to the AFC Championship game. When Vrabel went there, to the time Vrabel left, Ryan Tannehill was his guy. And you can see why when you look at the interception numbers. In 5 seasons under Vrabel, Ryan Tannehill threw double-digit picks one time. One time in 5 seasons. In 5 seasons with Miami, Ryan Tannehill had double-digit picks every single year. They eliminated that from his game. Mike Vrabel did that. That's why I don't think he would have picked Drake Maye. That doesn't even mean that Drake Maye is bad. That doesn't mean Mike Vrabel can't work with Drake Maye right now. What it means is he doesn't want Drake Maye the gunslinger. He wants Drake Maye the quarterback. Okay? And some guys never get out of those bad habits. Very, very, very few guys never get out of those habits and still become great quarterbacks. But if I had to guess, I'm going to guess Mike Vrabel wants Aaron Rodgers more than he wants Brett Favre. Probably just a guess from me. And look, I get it. Every coach wants a quarterback who doesn't throw picks. Find me one coach that says, yeah, I don't mind that my quarterback throws interceptions, and I'll show you a loser. But there are some coaches that are willing to beat it out of a quarterback until it is completely gone. Again, some want Aaron Rodgers. Some are willing to live with Brett Favre and the bonus, the plus side that he gives you. Because that fumble the other night with Drake Maye was horrible. I mean, it was first game of college football, third string, come in at the end of a 49-7 game kind of mistake. It was stupid. Everyone in the stadium and everyone watching it on TV saw it coming from a mile away. And I got to admit, I shuddered a little bit. I said, I was just really hoping we were past that. Because there were some times where we made really good decisions to not force a play last year towards the end of the season. There were some where he still tried to force a play. And some of those picks weren't even his fault. But it's what you look at when he continues to do it in the next preseason. I think Mike Vrabel is willing to try and beat that out of him. And how could he not? Because this is clearly a part of the philosophy that the Patriots have here. Again, I talk about it in that press conference. He's almost going full Belichick. Almost. Because there are some things that Mike Vrabel really kind of emulates with Belichick. Right? There are some ways where Mike Vrabel's a lot like him, but in a lot of ways he's not because he never coached under him. He played under him for a little bit and was, pretty successful. But it's not like he was coaching the linebackers under Bill Belichick. And when you look at the organizational philosophy that he is trying to, I guess, uphold, or in some ways trying to start a new one here, is they're trying to be a good fundamental football team, which they have not been over the last few seasons. Not by any stretch. In no way have they done the fundamentals good well under the last 2 years of Bill Belichick, and definitely under the 1 year of Drake Maye. And now there's this on the wall in Foxborough. The Patriots team identity. Effort and finish, ball security, ball disruption, details, technique, fundamentals, and making great decisions. Don't make me tap the sign, Mike Vrabel saying to Drake Maye on the sideline. Because I'd argue that obviously Drake Maye violates number 2 on the list, but he probably violates 2, 3, and 4. That's not ball security. That's not paying attention to the details and the fundamental, and that is not a great decision. He doesn't hit effort and finish, sure. But he doesn't hit 3 of the 4 things on there. Effort's got to be smart effort, right? Drake Maye, so far, very, very early on in Mike Vrabel's tenure, has not adhered to those rules that he has laid out for how the Patriots are going to be successful in the new Patriot way, which is a lot like the old Patriot way. Okay, Drake Maye hasn't fit that so far. This is not me going on some rant saying, oh, he's about to trade Drake Maye. He's going to run him out of town. It's just not his guy. No, I'm not saying that. But if you think this is the year that Drake Maye goes to 35 touchdown passes, I also don't think that's the case either. I think the Patriots are going to win more games this year than they have each of the last 2 seasons because they're going to have a really good defense and they're actually going to have a running game. Will Campbell actually looks good in the run game. I know there's concern that left side of the offensive line is going to be all rookies, but and no teams do that ever. I think there's been once in the last 10 years that a team has started 2 rookies on the left side of the offensive line. It doesn't happen. But the Patriots are going to win games this year on their defense and their run game. I know it's not sexy. I know it's not. But we have, for what it's worth, we have seen the Patriots bring along a quarterback by doing that very thing. Mike Vrabel played with him. His name was Tom Brady. Okay? You're not going to be able to win a Super Bowl probably in this league by doing that. Although the Eagles are pretty close to that. Hurts is obviously a good quarterback. I wouldn't call him like an elite, great quarterback, even though he put up something near an MVP season a few years ago. But that is the extreme example. These other teams that you see competing with it don't do that, right? When you look at the teams that have made it over the last couple of years, obviously the Chiefs, the 49ers, like they weren't They weren't these teams that just 3 yards in a cloud of dust win a game 17-10. Wasn't necessarily like that. You can still win in this league. Your ceiling is just a little bit lower than a lot of those elite teams. So now that question starts to beckon. Is this the kind of quarterback that Mike Vrabel wants to lead his team? Is he the kind of player that he wants? Or are we going to see a big kind of, are we going to see a lot of growing pains from Drake Maye in year 2? I think that will be very interesting because if we do, it's going to feel a lot like Mac Jones in 2022. The difference is Drake Maye's got such a better outlook in terms of the offensive coaching staff. Having Josh McDaniels in year 2, there are going to be some growing pains, but at least you have Josh McDaniels. At least it's not Matt Patricia and Joe Judge in year 2. Like I can't begin to stress enough how much better that situation is. But Mike Vrabel wants a different quarterback. Drake Maye's his guy, but it's going to be a different Drake Maye. What do you think? Would Mike Vrabel have drafted Drake Maye if he was the head coach last year? Would it have been Bo Nix? Would it have been Michael Penix? JJ McCarthy? I think it either would have been McCarthy or Bo Nix. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Be sure to like the video, subscribe to the channel. If you want to get more Patriots content, more Boston sports content, we're bringing that to you 5 days a week, live at noon Eastern time, and then wherever you get your podcasts as well. Check out the other videos on the channel, talking Patriots, Bruins, everything else going on in the world of Boston sports. I'm your host, Cam Stewart. Zach Burke keeps us on the air 5 days a week, talking Boston. That's what we do.